Okay, we are on. Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. Lady Victoria here. You all come on in. I know that it's late afternoon and I usually am not on at this hour, but my schedule of late has just been a little busier than it normally is. But I am Lady Victoria of Victoria School of Etiquette, where we offer you a solution to all of your etiquette dilemmas. I am broadcasting to you live from the Windy City of Chicago, Chi-Town, we like to call it, because we are the best in the Midwest. And Victoria School of Etiquette, we are happy to have you be a part of our platform this afternoon. So for those of you that are watching live, please like and share across your various social media platforms. I'm very appreciative of that. And for those of you that are going to watch later, thank you for joining. Please do the same. Please feel free to comment in the comment sections down below and post your questions there and your responses to the conversation on this afternoon. So those of you that are going to watch on YouTube, for my followers that are coming on over there, I greatly appreciate it. And you will be able to watch this broadcast later. So we're going to jump right on in onto our topic this afternoon. And as you can see, it's Tidbit Tuesday. Tidbit Tuesday is where I like to come on and share a little bit of information and just offer you some insight into areas that you might not be familiar with. And even if you are, it might be a refresher for some of you. So today we're going to talk about tipping in restaurants, mostly in restaurants. When you're going to dining establishments and you sit down and enjoy a meal, do you tip? And if you do, how much do you tip? There are some things that you should be aware of when you are tipping. You need to be aware, of course, of where you're dining, and you are because you are there. But when I say where you're dining and the type of establishment that you're in, how is your restaurant rated? What kind of food are you eating? Is it a fast food place? Is it a sit-down establishment? Is it above 3 stars? If it is above 3 stars, your rate of tipping is going to be typically higher than you would for a restaurant that's rated under 3 stars. How are restaurants rated? That's another, just a little tidbit of information that I think is helpful for people to know. So first, let's talk about tipping. When you are in a dining establishment that, again, is less than 3 stars, typically your tip rate is going to be anywhere between 10 to maybe up to 20%. 10 to 20% of your total bill. If you are in a dining establishment that is 3 stars or higher, then your rate of tipping is going to be anywhere from 20% up to 35%. And you say, well, my goodness, Lady Victoria, that's a lot of money to tip. Of course it is. If you are dining in a 3-star restaurant or a 5-star restaurant, that's why your rate of tipping is going to be that high. Now, how are restaurants rated? People oftentimes think that your restaurant is rated by the public, by the consumers that come in to eat there. That is partially true, but actually we don't carry as much weight as the professional raters or the professional inspectors or the inspectors or local agents for whatever rating guide that they are using. And that's important to know. That's important to know. Here in America, the agency or the company that rates all of the restaurants in America, actually they rate nationwide all over the world, is called the Michelin Guide. The Michelin Guide is a group of professional inspectors. Their rating standard rates anywhere from 1 to 3. And in America, we use a rating system that uses stars. So when you see a restaurant and it has 1 star, that says one thing about it. 2 stars says another thing about it. And 3 stars lets you know something else. So it just depends on who the restaurant guide is. Okay. You can find these restaurant guides in various other guidebooks. You can find them in the media, and you can also find them in various newspapers, lifestyle magazines, and webzines. Webzines, webinar magazines. Okay, that's where you can finally find them. Websites featuring consumer written reviews and ratings are increasingly popular, but they're far less reliable than the rating agencies themselves. They carry the heaviest weight when it comes to restaurants. Now, when I said that the top one nationwide is the Michelin Guide, and most of the time when people hear the word Michelin, they think of tires. Yes, it's that same company that makes tires, but they are one of the best known guides, like I said, again, worldwide. And the star rating standard that they use is 1 to 3. 1 to 3. So if you are dining in an establishment and it has a 3-star rating, then it probably means that they were rated by the Michelin Guide. That's the highest rating that they can get with the Michelin Guide. There are other companies or rating guides that use a 1 through 5. And there are even some that use 1 through 10. I'm not so much focusing on those, but I'm focusing mostly on Michelin, which is the top one again worldwide, and 2 of the others, Got Millau. That's the most popular one in Europe, and the Automobile Association in the United Kingdom. The Automobile Association in the UK, that is a group of professional inspectors, and they come in and rate the restaurant anywhere from cleanliness. Hey, Annette, thank you for joining. Hi, Loretta. Anywhere from the cleanliness standard in the kitchen, in the outer restaurant, the level of service, the type of service, whether it's white glove or less, the quality of the food that is served, the accuracy to which the meal is prepared, and then how it is served to the clientele that's dining there in the restaurant. So there are a lot of things that goes into making these ratings. There are a lot of areas that the guide services use and cover that we as consumers might not think about. Now, from time to time, I rate the dining establishments that I go in and eat in, and that's for my own business. That's for myself, and it's also for information that I can pass on to my clientele if they ask for a reference at a certain dining establishment or a certain type of dining establishment. Then I want to be able to give them some information that they can use when they are looking for a nice place to dine. So my rating doesn't even hold a candle, I don't think. I'm sure that Michelin wouldn't think that it even holds a candle to their rating, because they are professionals, and then they are, I'm sure, are looking for areas and see areas that I myself might not even think about. But when I go in, I do. I rate the cleanliness of the entire establishment. I rate the customer service when I walk into the establishment. Was there a greeter, a host or hostess there to greet me? Were they friendly? Were they nonchalant? Or were they really having a bad day? As I am escorted to my seat, I rate the person that is escorting me to my seat. I also rate the waitress or the waiter. I also rate their staff that works along with them, the runners. I always look for the manager that should be on the floor, that should be visible somewhere in the establishment, even within whatever section I am sitting in. At some point, that floor manager should be visible to me. I rate that. I always go to the restroom when I go into a dining establishment. I rate the cleanliness of the restroom. Is everything there and in order as it should be? Are there disposable towels there? Napkins for me to wash my hands? Do they have a hand dryer? Is the hand dryer in proper working order? The water, what is the pressure of the water? So there are a lot of things that I look at when I go into a dining establishment. And if I'm looking at all of those things, plus I rate how far the kitchen is from the restroom and how far the restroom is from the dining area. I rate all of those things. When I am checking out, I rate the friendliness of the cashier that is checking me out. I want to know, did the manager or did someone other than the wait staff come by and check on me? Did someone come by and ask, how was your meal? Is everything okay? I look at all of those things. Was the table clean when I sat down? Those are just some of the things that I look at. And if I'm looking at and rating all those things, then I'm sure the professionals are doing even more than I am doing. So those are some of the things that we need to know, that you need to know when you're wondering about how a restaurant is rated and is it worthy of you dining there. The professional services that come along and do these ratings, and the professional guys and the professional inspectors. Like I said, in America, we use stars to rate. In Europe, they use rosettes to rate. In their in the UK, it's 1 out of 5. They use rosettes there. In Europe, they can go from 1 to 20 points. They use a point system there. And in Italy and San Marino, their rating system consists of forks. And sometimes we'll see that here in the United States. I've seen that where a restaurant will get 3 forks or they will get 1 fork. So those are important things to know, for you to know. What else did I want to tell you about this? The different guides have their own criteria, so it's not like you can take one rating guide service and compare it to another, because they all have their own criteria that they use. So not every guide looks behind the scenes or looks at the decorum. Others look at particularly others are looking for value related to money, so they're looking for the monetary value behind their rating. So hello, hi Loretta. They are looking at the monetary value of the items being served, of the food that is on the menu. So sometimes people think where the more expensive restaurants, the more expensive it is, then the higher the rating. That's not necessarily true, because you can go and pay $100 for a meal and still walk out and you yourself give that establishment a 1-star rating. Maybe the customer service was poor. Maybe the meal was poorly prepared. Maybe it was undercooked, overcooked. Maybe it wasn't paired well. The meat may not have been paired well with the vegetables. If you are going to an establishment and you're having a glass of wine, maybe the glass of wine, oh my gosh, what happened here? Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know what happened there just for a moment, but I lost the screen. I don't know if you all can still hear me or see me. But just talking about sometimes the service and the meal itself, how the meal is prepared. Sometimes the meal may not be prepared to your liking. Again, I said, it might be overcooked, it might be undercooked, it might not be paired well. Hey, Janet, might not be paired well with the sides that come along with it, or maybe the meat is cooked well, but the vegetables are too crispy, or maybe the vegetables are too soft. And again, I was talking about wine. If you're going out and you're having wine with your dinner, maybe your wine wasn't paired well with what you're eating. Maybe they did serve a red wine with your red meat, but maybe the wine that they served was too robust, or maybe it was too light for your liking. So when you're attending an establishment like that, 5-star establishments often have a wine connoisseur. They have a wine connoisseur on staff that is separate from your wait staff. And oftentimes, if you know that you're going to be attending a particular establishment that carries has a large wine selection, you can call ahead and ask for the sommelier. That's the professional term for it. You can ask to speak to the sommelier, and you can tell them what it is that you are having, what it is that you would like to dine on, and ask them what is the best wine that pairs well with this menu, this selection that I've chosen. Even if you don't call ahead, once you come to the dining establishment, you can also ask to see the sommelier. You can tell them what your price range is. I want to spend anywhere from $55 to $150 for a bottle of wine. Are you purchasing just a glass of wine at dinner, or are you purchasing a whole bottle? And then if it is to your liking, you may decide that you want to take a bottle or 2 home. These are some of the things that I think patrons should know when you are going out to dine, especially in a fine dining establishment. Don't go in blind. Don't go in thinking that you'll figure it out once you get there. No, please don't do that. You don't want to make yourself you don't want to be unaware. Let me say it like that. You don't want to be unaware of what is ahead of you. So educate yourself before you go there. If you know that you are going to a 5-star dining establishment, research it before you get there. Go online and look up their menu items and make sure that there's something on the menu that's actually likable to your palate, something that you think that you would enjoy. Today, so many of us are eating healthier. We're making healthier choices. You have people that are vegans. You have people that are vegetarians. You have people that are not anything, but they're very selective about what they eat. You have people that are pescatarians. And so the dining industry is very aware of that. So most restaurants now will have meatless selections that you can choose that's comparable to your budget, and they should be comparable to your palate. So research it before you get there. Don't think that you're going to go to an establishment thinking that you're going to order an all vegan dish, and they don't even serve vegan food. They may not have a selection that's to your liking. So know that before you go there. If you're not a regular wine drinker, and I know that there's a lot of church people on here and watching and all of that, but hey, this my etiquette program is well-rounded for everyone. Not everyone drinks wine, but for those that do, be again educated when you get there. Simple rule of thumb, which most people know: red meat, red wine; white meat, white wine. Okay, so, but there are different types of red wine. There are different types of white wine. And so you want to educate yourself on which ones are which ones pair well with certain meats and with certain vegetables. You want to know that ahead of time. There are rosé wines, right? There are the blancs. There are dessert wines. There are appetizer wines. You need to know all of these things. There's sherry. Where does that fit in your dining experience? Are you going to have sherry? Sherry is typically served before your meal. Hey, coffee. So, again, these are things that you need to know, and all of these things play into the restaurant and how it's rated and how you should tip that very same restaurant. Okay, so if you've gotten really great service, the food was on point, it was hot when it came to you, the meat was cooked well, the vegetables and the side dishes were paired well, it was plated correctly on the plate. There's a way that the food should sit on the plate when it is served to a patron, or you served on your left and then the staff clean up on the right. Did they, when they were about to serve you, did they say, excuse me? They're standing right behind you over your shoulder. They're standing a little bit to your left, but they're going to serve you on the right. And it's the opposite when they're cleaning up. They're standing right behind you, a little bit to your right, but they're going to clean up on the left, right? When you go to a dining establishment, 3 stars and above, tablecloths. The restaurant will have tablecloths. 9 times out of 10, the tablecloth will be white tablecloths. There's a reason for that. I'm not going to get into that so much on this show on tonight, but maybe I will at another time. I can cover that at another time. But all of these little particulars that I am speaking of play a part in the class of the restaurant, how it is classified: 4-star, 5-star, 3-star, 2-star, 1-star, no stars whatsoever. All of it plays a part, and all of it plays a part into how you should tip. And so I started to say, when you're dining at a 4, 5-star restaurant, a restaurant that's 3 stars and above can garner a gratuity of 20 to 35%. Know that when you get there. Know also that some restaurants build the gratuity in their price of your meal. So you don't need to add an extra tip unless you are doing so based on customer service. Based on customer service, you might want to add another $10 or $20, depending upon the establishment, depending upon the service that you received, depending upon the meal itself. What did you order? If you go into even a 3-star restaurant, and many of them also have burgers on their menu, but it's not your McDonald's burger, of course. It's going to be a classic style burger. And if you order that, say we go out together, you order the burger, but then I order steak and potatoes, right? So will your tip be the same as mine? Should it be? How much detailed preparation and work went into preparing a classic burger? How much detail and work went into preparing steak? Those two things make a difference also in how much you should tip. What you ate, think about the service and the effort that went into preparing that particular meal. That also carries some weight into how much you should tip. So again, I said, research the restaurant before you go there if it's not a place that you've been to before. If it's a place that you frequent all the time, they know you pretty well. And so you're going to get the white glove service, what I call the white glove service, when you go there, because you are a frequent attendee. And so they know that when Lady Victoria comes in, she was here 3 weeks ago and now she's here again. So if you've established a relationship with the staff, so you're likely going to go at the time that your favorite waitress is going to be there. And if she's not in the section that she's normally in, they will probably seat you in whatever section that she is serving in, because they know that you like that particular waitress. They know that, thank you, Janet. They know that you like her service, the way she treats you. So they will sit you there. So, and I always encourage, when you go to your favorite places, create a relationship. It doesn't have to be the 5-star, but even the place that you go to around the place that you frequent all the time. Let's say that there's a restaurant in your neighborhood, in your community that you like, and you might go there a couple of times out of the week, throughout the weekday. Now, did you just start tipping them after a relationship was created, or did you create the relationship first and you tip them from the beginning? That's a good way to get good relationships started. Start tipping them from the beginning. So maybe it's just your regular average run-of-the-mill mom and pop shop that's been there. You know, you grew up with it, you went there as a kid and all that. But today they've made some changes. They've upgraded the place, and like that, they've upgraded the menu. And so the tip that you left 10 years ago, that's not going to fly today. Be generous, because you have to remember that waiters and waitresses, they live mostly off of their tips. They get paid a minimum wage, oftentimes under $5. That's their hourly wage, but they live off of the tips. Now, I remember my oldest daughter has worked in the restaurant service industry for years, for many, many years. She got one of her first jobs at McDonald's when she was in high school. And so she's worked at various dining establishments and different types of dining establishments. There was one place that she worked at was that one in Evanston? Or it was in Chicago. They had 2 or 3 different locations, whichever one it was. I think she worked at both of them from time to time. But there would be times when my daughter would come home with $300 in tips. No, now I remember exactly where it was. And it wasn't an establishment that was a 5-star, a dining establishment, a 2 or maybe a 3, a local neighborhood place. But that girl will come home with as much as $300 or more in tips alone. One day, not the whole weekend, one day, she would come home with that much money. Why? Because she gave service with a smile. She cared about her customers. She came back to check on them after she had served them. She came back to make sure, was there anything else that you needed? Did you need any water? Did you need more water? Now, she had a runner that was supposed to take care of that for her, but there were times when she came and did that herself. This is the kind of service that oftentimes we're looking for when we go out to dine, but what kind of service are we pouring back to those that are serving us? Are we pleasant? Are you accepted? Are you patient? If the establishment is really crowded and maybe you couldn't get the seat that you wanted, or maybe you couldn't get the waiter or waitress that you wanted, are you going to be upset? Is it going to show on your face? Are you walking in and your face is all balled up? Maybe you've had a really hard day, but when you come into the establishment, smile, even if they aren't smiling at you. Be kind, be nice. Those are the kinds of things that we expect while we're being serviced, but it's also the same kind of thing that we should give out when we are being serviced. We don't know what kind of a day that they have had as well, so you want to be pleasant with them too. Hey, Liz. Hey, Stu. Thank you all for joining me this afternoon. But these are just some of the things that we should know when you are going out and dining. Now, in the very beginning, I talked about that there are some establishments that you don't tip at all when you're going to. There are some establishments where it's actually not required, and they would rather that you not. Those would oftentimes be your fast food restaurants. You don't tip when you go to McDonald's, Burger King, Subway, all of the little, oftentimes little, some of the other little mom and pop shops. When you're going to, now I can't think of any of the, when you're going to pick up chicken, and you're going to just pick up some fish. When you're going to Sharks, places like that, J&J, you don't tip in those establishments. Now, again, I say this though, personal preference. When you're going to a place like that, Sharks, J&J, McDonald's, or whatever, if the cashier or the person that took your order goes over, above, and beyond, if you don't tip them, ask for the manager and say to the manager, tell the manager how great they were. Tell the manager how personable they were. Tell the manager that you are nominating them for Employee of the Day. I do that all the time when I get great service. I don't physically slip them a couple of dollars because they don't really allow that oftentimes in a dining establishment, in the fast food places. But it makes that employee's day to know that the service that they offered you, the smile that they offered you, the friendliness that they showed you, that it was appreciated. You can tell them, but it gains them some brownie points when you tell their manager that's on shift. You don't know, it might help them climb up the ladder of success where they're working. So there's that way that you can impact that person's life positively when you're not leaving a monetary tip for them, but you can speak well of their behavior. Now, what about when you have a complaint, Lady Victoria? Again, when you have a complaint, don't have it out with the cashier. Don't have it out with the server. Ask for their manager or the floor manager, and you state your case with them. I think that there is nothing more embarrassing, or there is no other way to exhibit poor behavior than for a patron to get into a loud screaming match with the person that's offering them service. Doesn't matter who's right or wrong. It's not about that, not in that moment, because you will be remembered. If you go back to that place again, they are going to remember, that was that lady that was in here screaming and yelling a couple of weeks ago. Yes, they're going to remember. So we always want to be mindful of our manners when we are going out. This is Tidbit Tuesday, and I'm just sharing these pointers and this information about the tips on tipping. Do you tip? Now, the other scenario is when you go to a restaurant that is a sit-down restaurant. Some people hold to the standard that if you go into a sit-down restaurant, that you automatically tip anywhere from 10 to 15% automatically. Well, again, for me, this is the measuring bar by which I use. If it's a cafeteria type sit-down place, you don't need to tip them. The standard is that it will be 10 to 20% when you go out into a sit-down restaurant. If it's a cafeteria style, if it's a quick bite-to-eat place, then you be the judge. But don't do anything less than 10%, because again, remember, they are living off of their tips. What if you go to an establishment that's a sit-down place, but you order out rather. You call in and you place your order and you come in to pick it up. Do you tip? when you go for carry out? Now, in all honesty, most of the time I don't. But I have learned recently that there are, again, some things to consider as to whether or not you tip. So you called in and made your order at any particular restaurant. It could be, let's say, a place I can think of right here in Hyde Park. It could be Mellow Yellow. It could be a hot dog place. It could be a burger place. It could be the mom and pop shop. Whatever it is, you go in and you make your order. They prepare it for you. You bring it home and sit down in the comfort of your own home and enjoy the meal. And everything is up to par. The meal was delicious. Everything was cooked well and blah, blah, blah to your liking. Should you have left a tip? You said, well, I didn't dine in. I didn't eat there. All I did was order my food and they cooked it. That's what they're supposed to do. That's their job. They are doing their job. But they prepared a meal for you. You didn't have to. You got in your car and spent your gas, which you would have done had you stayed there anyway, right? But what did they save you? They saved you some time and some effort. They prepared a meal to your liking and you enjoyed it. Should you tip them? You should leave them something, even if it's only $5. Give them something. Be in consideration of the person that prepared the meal for you, and be in consideration of the host or hostess that greeted you with a smile when you came in and ushered you to a place to sit down comfortably while you waited for your meal to be prepared, and then brought it, hand delivered it to you, and then you went out and got in your car and went home. So that's a standard that you can use and that you should think about when you're going out and dining in various places. So the tip on tipping, review, and to wrap up, if you are dining in a let's start at 5-star and work our way back. 5 to 3 stars, your tipping standard is going to be anywhere from 20 up to 35%. It is based on the meal that you receive. It is based on the service that you received. It is also based on the time that it took to prepare your meal, right? And the fact that you're just dining in their establishment. So there are a couple of criteria, more than a couple of criteria that you need to be aware of, that you should be considerate of when you are thinking about your tip, okay? That's 3 to 5 star. Anything below 3 stars is typically going to be average 10 to 20%. When you're dining or you're going to grab a bite to eat at the Quick Bite, or you're going to a fast food place, McDonald's, Burger King, Subway, places like that, tipping is not required. It's not required. Oh, and let me say about when you go to pick up your meal too. Now, you won't tip the same as if when you are carrying out. Even if it's a sit-down dining establishment, you won't tip the same. It's going to be significantly less. So if you dined in this establishment and your tip was anywhere from 20 to 35%, when you go in and you are picking your meal up, it's going to be considerably less than that. You don't have to use that same 20%. You can probably bring it down to about 10% if you were going to do 20. If you were going to do 35, then you can bring it down to 20. Because while they did prepare the meal for you, yes, you want to give them something, but it's not going to be the same as if you sat down and spent 2 hours in their establishment dining. So those are some things to consider. Like I said, if you are having drinks with your meal, especially if you are having wine or champagne or the like, educate yourself before you get there. Know what it is that you are ordering. Know what pairs well. And I can just make one recommendation. Cooper's Hawk is great for telling you what wines pair well with every item that's on their menu. There are other restaurants that do it as well, but that's just one place that I frequent, and I never have to ask. I never have to wonder about, is this a good deal or not, if I am going to have a glass of wine with my meal. So those are just some things for you to consider. Again, take in the ambiance of the place, the decor of the place, the lighting also plays a part. There's several things that makes a dining establishment what it is. And there are several things, like I said, that the rating and the professional inspectors look at as well when they are rating restaurants. The sanitation, the impact of the ratings by these professionals. Okay, when you come in and an establishment has been rated by the Michelin Guide, they only use 3 stars. They only use, their criteria is that they use a 3-star rating. If they go down to 2 stars, you can best believe that their dining establishment is going to be greatly impacted by the loss of 1 star. If they were a 2-star establishment and they go up to 3 stars, they're also going to be greatly impacted by that information as well. The public sees it. The ratings are made public in newspapers and magazines or what have you. They may advertise their own rating status, which is a great thing to do because it lets you know how well they're received, not just by the public, but by the professionals in the industry that give them that ratings, whether they use stars, whether they use points, whether they use forks, whatever their criteria is for that particular organization. It matters much when it goes up, and it matters much when it goes down. So those are some of your tips on tipping on this afternoon. And again, I am Lady Victoria from Victoria School of Etiquette, where we like to offer a solution to all of your etiquette dilemmas. So this is our spiel for Tidbit Tuesday on this week. Thank you so much for liking and sharing across your various social media platforms. I'm really grateful for that. So until next time, I want you to be in your best etiquette health. I'm signing off for now, and we'll chat again real soon. Bye for now.